This year feels much more positive for me. It just, even the beginning, you're always worried, aren't you, as a mummy? You're as happy as your saddest child, they say, don't they?
Katie, a warm welcome back to the Face Yoga Expert podcast. It's so lovely to have you back. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me back. I always enjoy our chats on this and outside of this as well. We seem to just have a lot in common when we are having our lovely conversations about all topics.
We do, absolutely. And I just said a moment ago, didn't I? Because we were chatting off camera and I was saying, let's get recording this because I feel like everyone's going to want to hear it because we were starting to talk about the energies of last year and about this year, which is something that I really want to delve into actually. And something you were just saying was about the energies of 2023 were very sort of up and down, and maybe we'll start there if you don't mind talking a bit about that.
No, absolutely. Because 2023, it had some fantastic things for me that throughout the year, but then it also had the opposites as well, where there was times of the year where it was very difficult with family, with work, with health issues. We had so many different ups and downs, and then I had dreams come true last year as well. I wanted to go to Venice. I managed to go to Venice. I've dreamed about that for years, and I wanted to do that for my 40th, but it happened on my 42nd birthday, which is absolutely fine. And just it had so many things that brought me so many highs, but so many lows as well. And I'm finding in 2024, the focus of 2024 with that up and down motion of 2023, we're going to go into 2024 learning from what we went through. So even if there were ups, if there were downs, it's always a lesson. And I'm going to learn from them and then bring myself into 2024 with new goals, new visions, and hopefully new energies.
That's amazing. And how are you sort of personally feeling about 2024? What do you sort of feel that it's going to hold? And you can talk about it on the greater scale energetically, but also personally as well.
I actually feel very positive about 2024. I've fixed, fixed is that the correct word? But I've created new energetics for my family, for my work, to make things more possible. Because last year I was aiming sometimes a little bit too high in all aspects, which was making it not achievable for me. And I want to make things more achievable this year. I want to write my goals down, which I've been doing. And when I've been writing my goals down, I've put myself into a nice gentle meditation. I've calmed my mind, made my energetics flow freely, clearing any stagnation, and then written down what my goals are for this year and making them realistic, making them attainable. So that is my focus for this year.
I love that. And when you say you've been sort of working on your energies, is there a particular process that you use?
Yes, I do a lot of energy medicine. So, as you know, I do energy medicine in all my practices, whether I'm teaching my Gua Sha course or with you, obviously our Gua Sha course, I should say. Um, sorry. And then when I'm teaching face yoga as well, I love the fact that we can bring in energy medicine as well. And I'm finding it's really helping students as I do that. But I wanted to focus a lot on writing down my goals in a nice calm state. So I use crystals around me. So I like to use amethyst because it really sets me into that nice meditative state. It calms my mind, calms any overwhelming feelings. The qigong that I do, I like to do a thing called clearing through the meridian channels. So if there's any stagnation, any of the acupressure points along each channel, I can address them and free them up. Then if I feel too tired, if I've had too much of a release, don't push myself, fix myself into that area of I need to achieve this goal. I need to get to that point. I need to listen to my body, listen to my mind, rather than trying to run at full pace towards what I'm wanting to achieve.
Absolutely. And do you sort of set particular time aside for that? Do you sort of say to yourself, okay, tomorrow morning I'm going to take some time to do this process, or do you just do it intuitively in the moment when you feel it's needed?
Both really. So I loved when before we were talking off camera. I I mentioned about when I'm wanting to make things happen in life and trying to achieve the goals. I sometimes will go through my diary, which I have for the whole year. I've gone through my whole diary for this year.
Wow.
I've written down, because both my girls now are at different schools, so that's an achievement in itself, doing drop off and pick up at the
Yeah,
same
same as
time.
my
There's
girls.
some
We were just saying that, weren't we? Two different schools
yeah.
brings a lot of challenges.
Um, yeah. And then it's if they do extra things after school, if they're doing
Yeah.
ballet or aerial silks, what have you, singing, drama, what do you
Yeah.
do? Have all these extra things on top. So I went through my whole diary, and I have to realistically give myself that time to meditate, to give myself time to make those goals and write them in my diary. For January, I want to achieve, you know, I really would like to achieve finishing writing off my body course. Which
Amazing.
it's been taking me about a year to do, but they do, don't they? Courses do
They do.
take a while.
They do.
And if it doesn't finish by January, don't be hard on myself. Just kind of give yourself that little bit of time, and taking time off as well. Like we said before, off camera, being self-employed, doing things for yourself. You don't have a week off, do you? Like you were saying that you haven't had a week off for 18 years until just now.
Till recently, absolutely, yeah. And I took for about 4.5 weeks off over December, and in Easter I did. I think it was about 8 or 9 days. So actually, I'm starting to take big chunks off, and I'm planning another chunk off as well. But it's so important, like you say, and I think it is almost about having those boundaries with yourself, sort of physically, emotionally, energetically. And I love the fact that you're looking through your diary and actually trying to find that space, because it's almost better to find that space and set those boundaries now with yourself, with family, with friends, with clients, with everyone else, and let them know in advance, rather than have so much on that you feel that you can't sort of cancel anything, and then the overwhelm sets in. And I don't know about you, but I can be really prone to overwhelm. I would say that's one of my biggest, what I call probably unhelpful emotions that can manifest in me. So I'm this year all about how can I actually stop that overwhelm in its tracks before it even sets in.
Yes, absolutely. And being organized really helps that for me.
Yes, same.
And looking through, yeah, it's just, I found that as well because I've had people close to me, like family and friends, that have really suffered with overwhelm actually. And I've helped them, but I've helped them by also learning what did help them as well. And being organized is one of those top of the list things, knowing the environment that you're going to be walking into, knowing the energetics that you're going to be walking into as well, how many people you're going to be working with or sitting around a table enjoying a social event with. It's just making sure that you know what you're going to be walking into.
That's also true. And I know that you're really good with doing almost like energetic protection before you go into certain events or certain circumstances. Maybe you could talk us through the process that you use for that.
I do use many different processes actually. So I love to always ground myself, because if you don't ground yourself, you can't really take on a new energetic. Your body needs to be prepared. So tapping on the bottom of my feet, you've got a wonderful acupressure point there called the bubbling spring, first point of the kidney meridian. Brilliant for helping you ground that energy, but also very good for our feminine energy, because it's a yin meridian that you're working with, and it's coming up from the yin, the ground, so that feminine energy really cycling up and helping to balance out your system and giving you that nice grounding feeling. It comes all the way up to a lovely endpoint, kidney 27, which is about helping your body move forward. So I like to do that before I start anything. So I like to do a little bit of tapping therapy on acupressure points as well, and say affirmations as I do that. So I'll tap on stomach 2, which is just underneath your eyes, and say out loud and in my mind, I ground my body. I'll go into my thymus area and tapping on that area and saying I give my body immunity. So I help my immune system boost so I can take on healthy energies, but I'm also helping to get my aura as well. So you're working with the outer and inner side of your body. And then I'll digest by tapping on my sides of my body, so my spleen meridian, and start to digest that energy change that I'm trying to do for my body before I go into something. if I'm doing a really big event, I do like to go through all of my meridian channels and I will go through them depending on the time of the day. I'll follow them through whatever time of the day it is. So what is the time now, Danielle? It's
About
it's
quarter to
10
11.
quarter to 11. So quarter to 11 is the spleen time, so earth time. So it's really good to do a bit of a grounding then. So before I chatted to you, I always do it. I just like to do that little bit of grounding. It's key. I find it just helps you step into whatever you're stepping into.
That's so good. And it's such a good reminder for me as well, because I can tend to get out of the habit of doing that. So, a lot of what you say, I do as well. But actually, it's funny how many times, you're sort of rushing around and you go straight into a call, or I've just done some filming this morning and I didn't do any energy protection. And it was funny because as you were talking there, I almost felt, and the way I describe it is like a heat rising. So it almost feels as though like a little bit of like a headachy feeling. And it feels like there's sort of like heat stuck at the top of my head. And I tend to have that if perhaps I've been in a very busy social event, or I've been doing like a lot of work on camera, or I've been teaching like on a stage with a lot of people. And when that comes, I know that I haven't brought the energy back down and done the grounding. It's almost like straight away, it's like heat rising, yang rising all the way up, and it is up here and it's trying to get out. So actually, it's a great reminder for me, particularly the grounding practice. And I think this time of year, I can get particularly out of the practice of doing, because what I'll tend to do in the summer, because I'm not so good on the cold, is I'll tend to just take shoes and socks off just before and after I do something, particularly if I'm doing a lot of online stuff. So if I'm based at home, it's nice and easy. I'll take my shoes off and I'll go barefoot on the grass and I'll do the grounding there, and I'll do lots of what you say. But actually, even just that, feet on the floor, maybe a bit of shaking, maybe a bit of qigong while you're barefoot on the grass, and I find that's amazing to do. And I almost like sandwich an event with that, so I'll do like that before and after. But in the winter, I think it's easy to forget all that because we just want to, it's almost like that protective, want to stay warm and safe. And we forget actually about the power of the deep grounding. And the other thing I can get again in the habit of, or out the habit of, and generally I'm quite good with my habits, but actually whenever I speak to you, it reminds me again, and then I go through into the habit, but I need the habit to become daily and last a lifetime, is after doing anything like an event or a call, is actually then doing the clearing of energy. And sometimes I do something as simple as a hand wash, like a mindful hand wash. That can be really good, or just like a shaking off with the fingers and the hands, or like a full body shaking, or even using like the Hey You body tapper or something like that, just to clear a little bit of the energy, or some sort of energy clearing all the way around, even sometimes with a crystal. And again, I go through stages of that and then get out of it. So you're always a great reminder to do those things. And do you do an energy clearing each time as well after you've seen a client or done a call?
I do, because sometimes the energies can be really lovely, very gentle, but it still needs that clearing because it's still got that person's energetics within that environment. So it's really good to clear them through if you can. Sometimes I'll open the window, I'll do a bit of sound therapy in the room. So I will tap on my Tibetan bowls, I'll do some of my crystal bowls. I've got my gong behind me, which I know people won't be able to see on the podcast.
Yeah, but on YouTube they'll be able to see that. Yeah.
So yeah, it's about doing what's right for you and what feels right for clearing that person's energy, because everyone's energy is very different as well. I've also got Palo Santo, I do sage, there's so many things you can do to clear the room, but don't put yourself under pressure to think I've got to do this, that, and everything that I've mentioned. You don't have to do it all. You just do little bits of it, little bits that actually work well with the environment that you're working in or being in.
That's so true. And that's a really good point, actually. You can do something as simple as just visualizing roots at the bottom of your feet and grounding and taking one breath before you do something. And then something as simple as a 10-second shake of the body afterwards. Like, it can just be that simple. And like you say, if you want to bring in other tools or sound healing or crystals, you can. Are there any particular crystals you like for sort of clearing your energy either before or after? And actually, just on that point, just to say that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be with a negative person or in a circumstance circumstance you don't like. It can be the most positive, uplifting, even with you and I, we were talking, we love spending time with each other. We know each other really well, but actually I'm sure you'll still do the energy clearing afterwards, not because there was negativity there, but just because, like you say, it's another person's energy that you're taking on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love being with you. It's such a
Same,
nice energy.
same.
And it's like locking that energy away in a little holistic box that you know that that energy was good at that moment in time. And I want to keep that, I want to keep that energy safe and then move on to the next one. So it's not always about clearing away that energy. It's about protecting that energy that you have with that person too.
Love that.
Yeah, but I love using. So in my room, I've got big rose quartz, which you won't see on camera. So I've got big rose quartz to bring love energy into the room. I do cleanse that very often as well. Sometimes with sound therapy, sometimes I do actually go and soak it and draw out anything that it may have picked up to give it more space for a positive set in as well. Other times I will make sure that I've got citron in the room as well, because citron's really, really good for bringing things in abundance.
Mhm.
I absolutely love that. It encourages that individuality as well, citron, which I love doing for people because when you're doing a treatment or if someone's taking an exam with me for facial gua sha or facial yoga, I want them to feel that self-confidence in what they're doing. So citron brings that as well. So I do have some of that in the room too. And it helps you face the enjoyment of life. So if you're trying to get through a therapy, like a therapy with me, and you're opening up and letting go, say, of grief, we want you to then enter the room and with that and make it into a safer bubble. And using citron is a really lovely one to bring you out of that and let you enjoy your next steps outside of the room.
Absolutely. I love those crystals as well. And I've got a little box of crystals in front of me. And it's funny because I put them there a few days ago and I sort of thought to myself, I don't know about you, but I often think, where and how am I going to use them? So at the moment, they're in a sort of a beautiful glass, almost like a big jewelry box. And I sort of take up what I need when I need. But I was actually thinking a few days ago whether it's nice to actually have them out so the energies are, almost released. It's almost like they're a little bit enclosed a little bit. So I think what's calling me at the moment is maybe a bit of cleansing of them and then just sort of walk around the house and just sort of place them in places which intuitively feel right. And I think that's the thing with crystals. I think we can get too caught up on what's the right one for this or what's the right one for that. Or, I was saying to myself, oh, I must look at that one in my crystal book and find out where's a good place for that one. But actually, sometimes I think soon as we bring what I call our human body or our human mind into it, it takes away what we actually should do, which is actually tap into ourselves at a soul level and just connect with what our soul needs in that moment.
Yes, absolutely. And when people say to me about buying crystals, I always say, try to go into a shop and
Mhm.
pick up the crystals that feel right for you, because normally there's something about that crystal that is good for you, that
Yeah.
you relate to, and that's why you've picked it up. It can be the same online if you haven't got a crystal in your area, a crystal shop in your area, then do the same. Don't look at the writing underneath, look at what the crystal looks like for you. And if it's something that stands out, then have a little go, buy it and see if it works with you.
Absolutely. And you can just buy it because you find it beautiful. And that enough is often an indication that it's right for you. You can just say that's pretty or, that's yeah, it's almost like just like an attraction, isn't it? You can't explain it, the same attraction as you would have with like a partner or the same reason you would be best friends with someone. You can't really describe it. It's a feeling and it's an energy. And I always think it's the same thing with crystals, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just that little bit of added kind of protection or support that you may need throughout that day. Every day is a different day, isn't it? So it's good to, you say you've got a pile of crystals, tip them out and see what one suits you for that day.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I'd love to talk actually about the year energetically for the collective. What's your sort of predictions about 2024 in terms of sort of the energies that it will hold and how as a collective we can step into that?
This year feels much more positive for me. It just, even the beginning, for example, Jasmine, your family, she started a new school, and you're always worried, aren't you, as a mummy? You're
Yeah.
as happy as your saddest child, they say, don't they?
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, and her going into a new environment, a new school, and coming out and absolutely glowing and being really positive about this change in her life has just made my mindset go, yep, this year is going to be a positive one. This year is going to really work. This is going to be nice. And same for my other daughter as well. She's really happy. She's good, in a good state, and she's coming into GCSEs. It's
Wow.
trying to get them both into that mindset. For me, I'm feel that if I do have those little dips, I've written down affirmations for myself, so it's always good to do that. And I've placed them on my fridge, on my mirrors, by my front door. So it gives me those little boosts. So if I do have those little dips, because every day is different, I can say, this year is going to be full of positivity. That's not always going to be the case. You're always going to have those little dips, but hopefully they're not as big as last year, and hopefully they give me that positive learning from what happened last year to this year.
Absolutely. And do you ever set an intention or a word for the year? Like I always choose one word at the beginning of each year that I really want to step into. Do you ever do a similar thing?
I set an intention, but not a word. That's a brilliant idea. So what did you?
Yeah, so last year my word was joy. So I wanted to do as many things which brought me joy and my family joy, and just step into joy a little bit more, which I feel like I really did. And this year it's funny because we've got to 8th of January and I haven't yet set my goals for the year, which is wildly unusual for me. Usually on New Year's Eve I take some really dedicated time, or on sometimes on New Year's Day, and write out my goals, but I haven't done it yet. But I do have my word, and it's a rather unusual word for me, but the word is evolution. So yeah, I just really felt I go into my intuition with it. I don't really overthink it, but it really feels like it's going to be a year of change. And I'm not sure what that change is. And there's something which is like really stopping me at the moment from fully writing my goals, because it's almost like something is saying to me, don't plan too much. Let things evolve, let things flow a little bit. And I knew the universe was stopping me doing it because 2 weeks ago I ordered a new notebook that I was going to write down all my intentions and my goals and everything. And it said it'd been delivered, but I couldn't find it anywhere in my house. So I was thinking, this is bizarre. Sometimes you get like an Amazon delivery, it says it's delivered, and I think maybe it's got lost or something. Anyway, this morning it turned up. So it's the dream it, believe it, achieve it. So it's turned up. So I'm thinking maybe now it's time for me to start actually thinking about my goals. But I feel like I want some fluidity in it really, and not be so structured with it. So I think words and intentions and feelings and energy are going to be more of the things I'm going to be writing down, rather than like really specific sort of like targets or to-do lists or tasks that I have to do. So very different actually for me this year. So I'm feeling different about the energy than what I normally do. Normally I'm very clear at the beginning of the year and I'm like, okay, these are the tasks I want to achieve by then. This is how I'm going to do it. This is the manifesting process I'm going to use, where it feels different. And I feel like that's good. And I feel like it's good to step into that. And I don't know if it's a collective energetic thing. I don't know if it's a personal energetic thing. I don't know if it's even an age thing, actually. I'm 42 next month. I know we're pretty much the same age. But I don't know, as you step into a different era of your life, actually the way you do things change. I know my acupuncturist said to me that actually as you go past sort of 41, generally it is less about the do and more about the being, which I found really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's such again, another interesting topic, isn't it, to go
Yeah,
into?
it
And
is.
I've really felt that energy myself. And for me, I haven't written down goals for
Okay.
myself. I've gone through like I said at the beginning, I've wrote down what I kind of feel I need to achieve work-wise,
Mhm.
but I'm not worried if they don't. It kind of it's not, I'm like I said at the beginning. maybe it won't happen in January. So my earpiece is calling.
It's okay.
Maybe it won't happen in January. It's in March, or even maybe not even this year. But you kind of think, don't put yourself under stress. And maybe that is an age thing, like you say, because when I've learned Chinese medicine, gone deeper into five element, it is you get that cycle. You get that cycle of falling into the different patterns. And even if you don't think about it and you get told about it, you're, oh yeah, I am in that cycle. I am thinking like that. So that's great that your book's arrived and you can step back and write the things that are right for you. And for me, I think writing the things that make you happy would
Mhm.
be perfect. Just focusing on those things rather than focusing on that I need to do this.
Absolutely. And the other thing I've really felt this year, and particularly actually over the last sort of 12 months or so, is I've been really trying to live more with the seasons and step more into the seasons. So naturally, I'm someone who prefers warmer weather. So I've always been a bit like, oh, it's brilliant, it's spring, it's summer, and then like, oh, it's winter, it's dark, and a bit more like that. But over the last year, I've tried to really embrace and love and be present with every season. And I think it's easy to forget that we are still in the depths of winter. It's showing now, with particularly in the UK here, how we're going into that colder weather. We're actually really just starting that cold cycle in many ways. And I think because there's this like almost like collective energy that after Christmas, suddenly it has to be okay, like let's set our New Year's resolutions. Let's have this new year, new you mindset. Let's all start going to the gym, that actually we forget that that energy, I believe, should come more like end of February time, mid to end of February, rather than at the moment. Because really, what we should be doing is we should be going slow still. We should be in hibernation mode still. We shouldn't be at the point where we're starting to set all these tasks and to-dos and intentions. To me, that should come at the sort of early sprigs of spring. So, more sort of end of February time. So I just wanted to put that out there for people as well, because if anybody out there is feeling like actually everyone's racing off and doing runs and doing this and suddenly go on these restrictive diets and everything, that actually this isn't the right time. This is still the time to nurture and go slow and be looking inwards.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've felt that, that slowness of energy. It's about listening to your body, isn't it? Listening to how you are. And yeah, I felt exactly the same. Even down to, again, like talking about the children, they get sent this, that, and the other, don't they, to do like join this, do this. And I've said to them, what do you want to do? And just getting them into school, getting them doing their education is enough. I'm like, you don't need to do all these extra things if you don't want to do the things that you love, and doing that ourselves as well, isn't it? Like waking up in the morning, and if you feel that you want to do a little bit of yoga, or if you feel like you want to do a little bit of self meditation, then do it. But if you're not feeling like it, then go with the pace of how the body feels. Because again, today it was nice and sunny for me where I am. So I did take my dog on a walk at 8:30. But for, tomorrow it might be pouring with rain. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I won't be doing that.
Yeah.
I won't be going out at that time. I'm not going to make myself feel I have to do that every day.
Absolutely. And because, here in the UK it is still getting dark, it's sort of 4:30 in the evening, rushing out really late in the evening to do things. If that doesn't feel right at the moment, if what you want to do is be under a blanket and light some candles, then that's probably what you should be doing, because that will shift and that will change. I think it's easy to think that what we're feeling like at the moment is the way we're always going to be feeling, but that's not necessarily the way. As the longer, lighter, warmer days come, we will naturally want to, move more and do more. And that doesn't mean don't move. I'm a great believer in doing movements every day. And particularly this time of year, I think it's important to get that light into our eyes. So when it is actually daylight, to try and get out as much as we can in that, but to also have a little bit of grace with ourselves, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting hearing our conversation from this year. Can you remember January's conversation last year was very different to this year? And it
Was
just
it?
shows you, yeah,
Oh, that's
it
so
shows
interesting,
you.
Katie. I
It's
don't
really
remember. Tell
interesting.
us. I mean, people can go back and listen to the episode, of course, but
Yeah, they
remind
probably will.
me. Yeah, remind
But
me.
it was about setting goals and us doing 10,000 steps a day and kind of, it's
That's
about us doing,
hilarious.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
So
my God, that's
it's very
hilarious.
interesting. I know.
That's
But that shows,
hilarious.
I know completely, but that shows also us saying, we're 42. I know you're 42, nearly,
Yeah, yeah.
but our ages are very similar. So, the emotions of what we're feeling, even our lifestyles and life, maybe like quite similar at times, but
Mhm.
very different at other times. We're stepping into the world in a very similar way. So it makes you wonder, the year 2024, is this going to be how it is? Is this how
Yeah.
this is the intention of the year?
I love that. And that's super interesting. And I wonder also going back to habits, because, things like doing 10,000 steps a day or doing yoga every day, I think because I'm probably really now grounded in those habits, that actually doesn't feel like they are goals anymore. I'm really intentional about my daily walk. I'm really intentional about my daily yoga and really intentional about my daily face yoga. They're the sort of three things. And I think probably beginning of last year, I was maybe still navigating my way around those, what I call non-negotiables. But it's amazing in a year how something which felt like maybe a go, go, go goal is actually now just part of who I am. So it's almost like I'm still doing that, I'm still achieving that, but I'm so settled and grounded into it that actually then it's leaving space for me to like think about other things, which I think is really important to say actually, that those things. So if anyone listening to it is actually thinking, what, I really still do want to have my goals and I really want to have something to achieve and my tasks, then that's also okay, because they will then become so much habits and so much part of your day that actually they don't feel like a doing anymore. They feel more like a being. So yeah, I think that's part of it. I think, like you say, it's maybe it's an age thing. I think maybe it's a hormonal thing as well. But maybe it is just, in a year, I think both of us have also grown so much energetically and stepped into ourselves even more. We've learnt more, we've experienced more. I think we both even teach in a different way from a year ago as well.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And it's about those lessons learned, isn't it, in 2023, what we're bringing through to 2024. And that was wonderful to have those life experience, whether they were ups or down.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about our Gua Sha, because anyone that doesn't know, and I'm sure most of our regular listeners do know because they know you very well, and often you've been on the podcast many times, we've done Instagram lives together and loads of other things. But you, myself, and the lovely Katie Brindle, we all have created the amazing Gua Sha teacher training course, which is an accredited course which anyone can take. It's open to anyone, in order to understand everything there is about Gua Sha, how to use it not only on your own face, but also how to get certified to teach other people to use it on their own faces. So whether you want to teach them one-to-one or whether you want to teach them in groups. And that's a real sort of project of passion that the three of us have done. And for me and for you, it was such a natural evolution. I'm using the word there already. A natural evolution from the face yoga teacher training course, which we, as we know, has been very, very popular for years. And it's been wonderful to see how we've had so many of our face yoga teachers take our Gua Sha teacher training, but also vice versa, that Gua Sha teacher training has brought through so many people that would like to also do face yoga, but also they work wonderfully as separate entities as well. And you're our super trainer for that. So anyone that takes it will study the amazing, amazing course and see all the gorgeous videos which have you so beautifully demonstrate everything, and then do their written assignment, and then spend a little bit of time on Zoom with you doing their practical assignment in order to get certified. So that's pretty much how it works for anyone that's very new to it. And we've been doing it probably a good few years now. What do you, 2.5, 3 years are we coming up to?
So
It's
I've got
spring.
students from 2021. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think spring 2021, perhaps. We started it. So yeah, so we're sort of well, nearly 3 years actually, which is wonderful. And I know, it's something which both Katie Brindle and I love, but also you love as well. And I know you've met so many amazing, amazing people who've come through the course.
Absolutely. And it's been such a wonderful experience actually. I never kind of realized that I could teach. You know? And that's what's so lovely when people come through because they can see that I'm so passionate. I absolutely love teaching facial gua sha and facial yoga to people and seeing them shine. You know, I did an event last year where I took some of the teachers and therapists with me to the big retreat, which I'm going to do again this year. So I will let everyone know that I'm doing that. Well, I'm letting everyone know now, aren't I? But I'll give everyone an email. um, and just seeing them shine, you know, seeing them at work. I had what a couple of the ladies did took over me teaching. So I was teaching a group of 30 ladies, and then I invited them in to teach part of the class.
Great.
And it was just so wonderful to hear your words, Katie's words, and my words coming out and teaching
Oh,
these wonderful people how to do gua sha on people and how to do facial yoga. And you could just see their passion. And that's what I absolutely love seeing. I love seeing people shine and giving them that qualification at the end and their smile and their joy for life. And I do have some people that come through and they just want to do it for themselves. And sometimes they might not want to take the exam, and then suddenly they'll go, "Should you know, I might take the exam because my sisters or my brother or my, family member or friend has noticed what they've been doing to their face and going, what have you been doing? Your skin looks amazing." And they go, "Oh, I've been doing gua sha," or you know, and then they want the qualification because then they can start teaching their family members and friends, and then they create a little business on the side. And
yeah.
it's such a wonderful Gua Sha family. I just absolutely love it.
It is. It's an absolute pleasure to be part of, and you are so amazing with holding space for everyone. And anyone that is interested in doing the Gua Sha teacher training course, obviously they can book it through our website, faceyogaexpert.com. They can come and find information on your website if you wouldn't mind letting everyone know your website.
Yeah, it's my www dot and it's Katie the Skin Whisperer. So people will see. There's a link on my Instagram as well. So if you can't find it on Google, you can link it on my Instagram, which is exactly the same, Katie Blake _ the Skin Whisperer.
Amazing. Katie, it's such a pleasure to chat to you always. I mean, I feel like we could chat for hours and hours and hours. And that is also why we have you back on the podcast so often, because I think more than anything, it's just an excuse for you and I to have a good chat, isn't it?
Exactly. Always wonderful.
It's always wonderful, and I hope you have such a healthy and a happy new year to you and to your gorgeous family as well. Thank you, Katie.
And to you. Thank you for everything, Danielle. It's been such a joy.